They said a woman alone could not raise a child and still chase the sun, but she decided that if the sky would not open for her, she would climb it instead. Part 1. The Weight of Two Shadows. The night her husband died, the hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and silence. Meera stood still, holding her 6-month-old daughter against her chest, as if pressing the baby closer could keep the world from splitting apart. The doctor spoke gently, but his words were sharp. Sudden cardiac arrest. No prior symptoms. We tried everything, everything. It was a small word for the size of her loss. She did not scream. She did not faint. She only nodded, as though someone had told her the bus was late. Later she would wonder why she had not broken down. But at that moment, something ancient and instinctive took over. Her daughter stirred in her arms. Tiny fingers curling against her sari. Meera realized she had no permission to collapse. Grief would have to wait. The funeral passed like a blurred photograph, faces bending toward her, whispers of pity, hands pressing into her shoulders. "You are still young," they said. "You can remarry. How will you manage alone? Go back to your parents." Alone. The word followed her like a stray dog. That night, when the house finally emptied, Meera sat on the floor beside the wooden cradle. The walls seemed larger, the ceiling higher, as though the absence of one person had expanded the space into something unbearable. Her daughter, Anaya, slept peacefully, unaware that her world had tilted. Meera watched the gentle rise and fall of the baby's chest. "I will not let you feel this emptiness," she whispered. But she had no plan. The savings were thin. Her husband had been a junior clerk in a small firm. There was no insurance policy worth mentioning. The landlord, polite but practical, reminded her that rent was due at the end of the month. Meera had a degree in literature, unfinished. Marriage had come early, studies had paused. Dreams had been folded neatly and placed inside cupboards. Now cupboards did not pay bills. On the 10th day after the funeral, she opened the trunk where her certificates were kept. The paper smelled faintly of naphthalene. She ran her fingers over her name written in careful ink. 4 years, it had meant nothing beyond identity. Now it meant survival. She began searching for work. The first interview was at a private school. She wore a simple cotton sari and tied her hair tightly, as though neatness could compensate for her fear. The principal glanced at her resume. "You have no teaching experience." "I can learn quickly," she replied. "We need someone who can commit fully. A child at home. It may be difficult." It was not a rejection. It was a polite closing of doors. The second interview went no better. The third ended before it began. The manager saw the baby in her arms and shook his head. "Madam, this is not possible." Each time, she returned home with heavier steps but lighter hope. One evening, as she calculated expenses on the back of an old notebook, her neighbor, Shalini, knocked softly. "You should try tailoring," Shalini suggested. "You stitch well. Start from home. At least until you find something better." Meera had stitched her own wedding blouse years ago. She had embroidered tiny flowers into the sleeves of Anaya's first dress. Sewing had always been a quiet pleasure, never a profession. But necessity reshapes skill. The next morning, she borrowed an old sewing machine from Shalini. It was slightly rusted, the pedals squeaking in protest. She cleaned it carefully, as though preparing an ally for battle. Her first customer was Shalini herself. A simple blouse alteration. Meera worked late into the night, adjusting seams with meticulous attention. When she handed it back, Shalini smiled. Perfect. Word traveled slowly but steadily through the neighborhood. A hem here. A fall there. Then simple blouses. Then salwar suits. The earnings were modest. But they were hers. Days developed a rhythm. Wake at dawn. Prepare milk. Feed Anaya. Stitch. Rock the cradle with one foot while guiding fabric with both hands. Cook. Stitch again. Wash clothes. Count coins. Sometimes exhaustion blurred her vision. Sometimes frustration burned behind her eyes. When the machine needle broke or thread tangled stubbornly, she wanted to scream. Instead, she breathed deeply and fixed it. At night, after Anaya slept, Meera would sit by the window. The streetlight outside cast a pale glow through iron bars. She would think of the life she once imagined, shared laughter, evening walks, arguments over trivial things. Now her conversations were with silence, yet somewhere within that silence, a strange strength began forming. 6 months later, Anaya learned to crawl. She moved across the floor like a determined explorer, reaching for fabric scraps and pulling at measuring tapes. Meera laughed for the first time in what felt like years. That laugh startled her. She realized grief had not left, but it had changed shape. It was no longer a roaring storm. It was a steady ache, constant but manageable. One afternoon, while delivering stitched clothes to a customer in a larger residential colony, Meera noticed a boutique hiring assistants. The glass door gleamed. Mannequins displayed vibrant garments. She stood outside for several minutes, adjusting Anaya on her hip. Inside, a woman in her 40s examined her carefully. "Experience?" The woman asked. "I run a small tailoring setup at home," Meera replied. The woman's eyes sharpened. "Can you handle finishing work? Deadlines are strict." "Yes." A trial period was offered. Balancing boutique work and home responsibilities felt like juggling glass pieces. She would drop Anaya at Sholini's house for a few hours each day. Guilt accompanied her like a second shadow. At the boutique, she worked with precision, hemming, lining, adjusting complex cuts. Her fingers moved with increasing confidence. She observed designs closely, memorizing patterns, studying how fabric fell against the body. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt something resembling ambition, not for luxury, for stability. The boutique owner, impressed with her discipline, began trusting her with more complicated tasks. "You are careful," she remarked once. "Careful people build good things." That sentence stayed with Meera. Careful people build good things. Yet society did not forget her widowhood. Some customers asked intrusive questions. Some men mistook her silence for availability. Once, a supplier lingered too long, offering help that was not help. Meera learned to respond with measured firmness. Her voice, once soft and hesitant, developed edges. At home, Anaya began saying her first words. "Ma." It was not a grand speech. It was a single syllable, but to Meera, it felt like a medal pinned to her chest. She lifted her daughter high and whispered, "We are enough." Months turned into years. The tailoring machine at home was replaced with a new one, purchased from careful savings. Anaya started preschool. Fees were daunting, but Meera insisted. Education, she told herself, is armor. Her schedule intensified. Boutique in the morning. Home orders in the evening. She slept barely 5 hours a night, but progress was visible. Rent paid on time. Groceries without borrowing. A small savings account opened quietly at the bank. She did not celebrate these milestones publicly. They were private victories, stitched together like hidden seams. One rainy evening, as thunder rattled the windows, Anaya asked, "Where is Papa?" The question struck without warning. Meera paused, her hand stilling mid-stitch. "He lives in the stars," she replied gently. "He watches you grow. Will he come back?" Meera swallowed the lump rising in her throat. "No, my love. But he is proud of you." Anaya nodded, accepting the explanation with the simplicity only children possess. After putting her to bed, Meera sat alone and allowed herself to cry quiet, controlled tears that left no sound behind. She realized then that bravery was not loud. It was repetitive. It was waking up every day and choosing to continue. By the time Anaya turned 5, the boutique owner proposed something unexpected. "I am opening a second branch," she said. "I need someone to supervise tailoring operations. You have earned my trust. Will you take it?" The offer meant more income and more responsibility. It also meant stepping into visibility. Meera hesitated. Fear resurfaced. What if she failed? What if she could not manage staff? What if motherhood and management collided? But she remembered the hospital corridor. The cold finality of loss. The early days when even survival felt uncertain. Compared to that, this was only a challenge, not a catastrophe. "Yes," she said. And with that single word, another chapter of her life began. She did not know then that success would demand sacrifices she had not yet imagined. She did not know that the sky she was climbing would darken again. For now, she only knew this: she was no longer standing beneath a broken sky, she was stitching her own, to be continued in Part 2. Part 2: When the Sky Darkened Again. Success did not arrive like a celebration, it arrived like responsibility. The new boutique branch opened in a busier part of the city. Glass windows reflected ambition. Bright lights hid exhaustion. Meera stood inside on the first morning, watching tailors adjust mannequins and steam garments. For the first time in years, she was not just surviving. She was leading. Her sari was simple, but her posture had changed. Customers addressed her as Madam. Suppliers waited for her approval. Staff members looked to her for instruction, but leadership is heavier than poverty. The cost of climbing: her days stretched longer. Morning: prepare breakfast, pack Anaya's school bag, tie her hair into 2 neat braids. Afternoon: inspect stitching quality, negotiate fabric costs, calm impatient clients. Evening: return home, cook, review school homework, take additional tailoring orders. Night: finalize boutique accounts. Sleep became optional. Anaya, now 7, would sometimes wake at midnight and find her mother still working at the dining table. "Ma, why don't you rest?" Meera would smile. "Rest is for later." But later is a promise life does not always keep. The first warning: it began as small fatigue. A cough that lingered longer than it should. A dull ache behind her eyes. She ignored it. There is no time to be ill, she told herself. One afternoon, while checking a bridal lehenga's embroidery, her vision blurred. She steadied herself against the table. A staff member noticed. "Madam, you should see a doctor." "I am fine," she insisted, but she was not. The diagnosis: the hospital corridor smelled the same as it had years ago. That scent alone made her breath uneven. This time she was the patient. The doctor spoke carefully. Severe anemia. Extreme exhaustion. Internal complications caused by prolonged neglect of health. Treatment was possible, but it required rest, consistent medication, and time away from stress. Time away from stress. She almost laughed. Who would run the boutique? Who would pay school fees? Who would protect their fragile stability? She folded the prescription quietly and placed it inside her handbag. Anaya waited outside, swinging her legs on the plastic chair. "Are you okay, Ma?" "Yes," Meera said softly. "Just tired." The silent sacrifice: she reduced her working hours for a week. Then business pressure increased. A wedding season rush. Large orders. Delayed deliveries. She returned to full schedule. Her body protested. Her heart raced unpredictably. Some nights she felt a strange tightness in her chest, but she convinced herself it was anxiety. "Just a little more," she would whisper, "just until Anaya grows up." Anaya grows. Years moved quickly. Anaya became a teenager, bright, disciplined, academically strong. She inherited her mother's quiet strength and her father's thoughtful eyes. She knew her mother was not well. She saw the pale skin, the trembling hands, the cough that refused to disappear. "Ma, please rest. I can help at the boutique." "You will help," Meera replied gently. "By studying." Education was still armor, and Meera wanted her daughter to wear the strongest shield possible. The collapse: it happened on an ordinary evening. There was no storm. No dramatic music. No warning large enough to stop fate. Meera was reviewing accounts at the boutique when her pen slipped from her fingers. A wave of dizziness overtook her. The room spun. She tried to stand. She could not. By the time staff rushed her to the hospital, her condition had worsened. Anaya arrived breathless, school uniform still on, eyes wide with fear. The machines beeped in steady rhythm. Too steady. Too calm. Meera looked smaller in the hospital bed than she ever had before. The final conversation: "Ma," Anaya whispered, gripping her hand. Meera's voice was fragile but clear. "Do you remember what I told you? Education is armor." Tears rolled down Anaya's cheeks. "Don't talk like this. Listen to me." Her breathing was shallow. "You are not alone. You were never alone. Everything I built, it is yours. But more than that, Your courage is yours. Do not let anyone make you feel small. Anaya shook her head desperately. You promised to rest later. Meera smiled faintly. Later has come. She squeezed her daughter's hand once more, then her fingers loosened. The sewing room, after the funeral, the house felt unfamiliar. The sewing machine stood still. The measuring tape lay coiled beside it. Half-finished fabric rested on the table, as if waiting for hands that would never return. Anaya entered the room alone. She ran her fingers over the machine pedal. She did not cry loudly, she stood straight, and she understood. The legacy, years past. Anaya completed her education with honors. She expanded the boutique into a respected brand, but she never removed the old sewing machine from the corner of the office. Employees often asked why she kept it. That machine built everything, she would say. Every year on her mother's death anniversary, Anaya lit a small oil lamp beside her photograph. Not as a ritual, as gratitude. The final sky. One evening, long after closing the boutique, Anaya stood on the rooftop. The sky was clear. She remembered her mother once saying, "If the sky will not open for you, climb it." Anaya looked upward. For the first time, she did not feel abandoned. She felt guided, but grief never fully disappears. It only learns to sit quietly beside success. The story did not end with triumph, it ended with inheritance. A woman had climbed the sky so her daughter could walk on the ground without fear. And though Meera was gone, every stitched seam, every balanced account, every confident decision carried her imprint. The sky had darkened again, but this time, it did not break. The end.